After high school, I graduated. I got my first job, which was making wallets, leather wallets. I didn't last long there because there's no future without any money in the wallets. So I looked for another job. This time it was a place that was making, assembling radios. Well, I liked that better. Besides, I was trying to get a job and those people were out on strike. One person needs a job, another person is out on strike, so somebody has to get it, so I tried to get it and I got it. So we got the job and I started working in the place. And I worked there for the first few years. Then started the war began. The United States was attacked by Japan. I was in my 20s at that time, and I was drafted. I was drafted and sent to the Pacific. Just as well, because if I had been drafted and sent to the European theater, I would have been fighting the Germans, which is okay too. Anyhow, I spent 2 years in the service. That I took my discharge over there in Japan because the war had just ended. I stayed another 6 months in order to accumulate a little more money because then I was doing the same job as a GI, but this time I was getting paid as a civilian for 6 months, and I accumulated a little more money to take home. Then my mother wanted to go back to see her mother and her relations, and she wanted me to go with her too. So there again, we took another trip back. So this was what? How many years later after 1928, which when we arrived here. So this was 1948. 20 years later, we went back.
The first time I saw her was when she arrived in New York City on the return from the trip that my mom and my brother made to Sicily in 1948. They went there after the war so that my mother could see her mother and they could correspond, because we are talking about a time now when maybe there were telephones, but they certainly weren't good phones and you couldn't always get connected. They had connection by letter, and they went through a whole Second World War, not really knowing who was living and who was dead unless you got that letter. So then when Frankie was there, he met and married Olga.
And we returned to Sicily, and we went to see our relations, to meet them again. And I knocked on a door, and there was a half door, one of those Dutch half doors. We knocked on the door, and the top half opened up, and who do I see but a woman, or a young girl, called Olga. A bright, golden-haired, braided young girl, bright and beautiful.
I do remember her coming into the family, although I was very young. We lived at that time on Kearny Avenue over John the Butcher Shop. That was our first home in New Jersey, and that's where they came to live. And we gave them a bedroom, which was a part of the house, naturally. They lived there for some time, and it was difficult. It was difficult for her. First of all, the language was difficult. The culture was difficult. Even though our family was still Italian Sicilian culture, it was very difficult, I think, for her, and it took quite a while for her to overcome, a lot of the what do you call it, that she had to go through, the times, Mm-hmm. But yeah, I think it was very difficult. For me, it wasn't. As I said, I was very young, mm-hmm. And she was another sister. As a matter of fact, after a period of time, she went to take English lessons at the night school in Kearny, and I would accompany her. I would go with her all the time, keep her company and just sit in the class.
Although I came from a pretty good family, pretty well-to-do family, I started work here. First, I started working in clothes. I made suits and dresses. Then I opened my own restaurant, my first restaurant. I was happy. I had 3 beautiful sons. And I work hard to make them a good future.
My wife and I had the greatest pleasure in being able to introduce our 3 sons to the origin that we came from. We were able to take them one at a time, and we came back full circle. That was our greatest happiness.
I have 8 grandchildren. They seems to be happy in here because they have all the privilege that other people don't have. Being born in America, this country gives hope to a lot of the people.